In this video, I'm going to tell you how the world is heating up, and it's not just the extreme heat domes that millions worldwide are sweltering under.
Who is ready to lose 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 and 15 million people?
Теперь появился и аналогичный документ США.
Kim Jong-un is threatening the world with endless missile tests. You might be thinking, what's new? We're used to North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un being presented either as a supervillain or laughed off in dictator jokes. But now some North Korea watchers are sounding the alarm, saying Kim might actually want a war.
This morning, tens of millions from coast to coast are broiling thanks to an early blast of record heat.
Countries like Europe, Bangladesh, and Ethiopia are witnessing an increase in crop diseases such as septoria, Tritishi blotch, wheat blast, and wheat rust, resulting in a significant decline in crop yield and food prices hike.
The world war between the West and Russia is heating up to a boiling over point, and we may be heading headlong into the biggest war the world has ever seen. Now, the heat is not just about being uncomfortable, it's threatening our food supply. And should we be panicking about the avian flu yet? I'll also have another giveaway in this video and announce the winner of our last giveaway. Now, if you're new to this channel, my name is Chris, and on this channel we discuss emergency preparedness, aka prepping. In this community and on this channel, we concern ourselves with all things emergency preparedness. And periodically, I feel that it's important to do one of these news-like segments to really assess some of the things worldwide, some of the threats that we're seeing, and try to drill down to how they actually might impact us, though we may be thousands and thousands of miles from the actual conflict zone where these events are occurring. And these segments aren't meant to provide or produce stress in your life, but rather to empower you with information and knowledge that you need to really make the best decisions on how you will prepare. Now, that being said, here's what I think you need to know and consider as you prepare for this future. Before we jump in, I want to mention a quick few things. First of all, you've noticed we have had sponsors here lately, and we have several lined up for this summer and then through the fall. We're using the financing to essentially pay for behind-the-scenes work, and we have several projects that are coming up. And if you've noticed on those videos, I turn off the YouTube ads so you can skip ahead the sponsorship slots if you don't want to listen to it. So again, all you have to do is scrub ahead 1 minute on the video, and again, with YouTube ads, you can't do that. That kind of leads me into the second point as far as the financing and things we're doing. I've got some pretty exciting news, something that I've been talking about on this channel for years, and something finally opened up an opportunity, and I'll talk about it a little more at the end of the video. But let's go ahead and jump into the news. Russia, Ukraine. Serbia's president, whom we showed a clip at the beginning of this video, he criticized both Russia and the West for not pursuing peace in Ukraine and declared that Serbia would not participate in a world war. Now, he stressed the high stakes for both sides, noting NATO and the US, they cannot afford a loss due to political and geopolitical repercussions, while Putin faces total ruin if Russia loses. I'd like to say that he's wrong, but some of the recent developments in this conflict seem to point to an escalation possibly happening soon. Now, Ukraine is set to receive F-16 fighter jets this summer after delays in delivering training. And the aircraft, provided by Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands, and Norway, they're expected to significantly enhance Ukraine's defense capabilities, with training for pilots and ground staff being a key focus. And despite challenges, Ukraine officials and experts are optimistic that the F-16s will shift the dynamics of the conflict, forcing Russia to alter its tactics and potentially achieve air parity. Now, these F-16s are also capable of air-to-air missile intercepts and are capable of launching medium-range missiles almost 400 miles, with warheads weighing up to 1,000 pounds. Now, add to this that the U.S. plans on halting Patriot missile deliveries to other countries to route available units of the Ukraine instead, and it's possible that Ukraine will reach parity with Russia and control the skies. It also means that Ukraine will have strike capability of its occupied territories and the capability to strike hundreds of miles into Russia, Belarus, or anywhere along its borders where Russia amasses invading troops. It's really a new dimension to the conflict, and enough to send Putin into desperate deals with North Korea, which I'll cover in just a moment. Now, before that, though, I think the world should take note of the extensive power outages that struck several European countries, including Albania, Bosnia, Croatia, and Montenegro, disrupting daily life significantly. And the disruptions were triggered and rippled out from an explosion of a 400 kilowatt transmission line in Montenegro. Now, traffic lights, they went dark, electric trains halted, and internet services were knocked offline. Authorities from power operators are investigating the cause of these blackouts. Now, despite the chaos, efforts are underway to restore electricity across the affected areas. And I'll be watching that closely for any signs of Russian sabotage or cyber attacks. At the very least, our takeaways should be how fragile our electrical grid is and how quickly problems with it can spread across an entire country or group of countries. And if it's not Russia, it's failing equipment or strain from extreme heat events. But outages like this are not a matter of if, but when. They're all in our futures. So what do you think? Are we about to see a bigger and newer chapter in this war without end? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Russia and North Korea. The ongoing war in Ukraine, now nearing 900 days in its current phase and over a decade long if considering the annexation of Crimea, has severely impacted the Russian army, leading to the exodus of hundreds of thousands of military-eligible men and a decline in military resources due to sanctions. Now, Russia has resorted to refurbishing Soviet-era equipment to sustain its efforts. And desperate for a significant victory, Putin faces dwindling supplies and personnel. Flash forward to this week, where Putin met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And experts warn that North Korean troops may join the conflict under a new defense pact signed between the two leaders. Now, this agreement has raised concerns about potential nuclear material exchanges, especially after Putin warned South Korea against arming Ukraine. Now, this addition of North Korea soldiers could drastically shift the war's dynamics in Russia's favor, with North Korea expected to supply millions more ammunition rounds and potentially hundreds of thousands of troops. Putin has also indicated that Russia might arm Pyongyang if Western support for Ukraine continues, asserting Russia's right to supply weapons globally in response to the West's effort to arm Ukraine. Now, North Korean munitions already supplied to and used by Russia and Ukraine have proven largely ineffective, with reports indicating that around half of the artillery shells are unfit for use due to their age and poor production conditions. And despite North Korea's effort to supply ballistic missiles and other weapons, many of these munitions date back to the 70s and 80s and have resulted in significant failures on the battlefield. And while I'm not as concerned about the fighting readiness of the North Korean army, I do have some concerns about yet another conflict zone opening up around the world with Moscow's help. I'm also a little concerned that China appears to be sharing the responsibility of babysitting North Korea with Russia. China might use North Korea as a conduit to supply Russia and Ukraine with more advanced and more effective military equipment. And this is not dissimilar to how South Korea currently supplies huge amounts of munitions to Ukraine. It seems the world is setting the stage for a new chapter of the conflict, and each chapter is often punctuated with something that will seem extreme at the time, but will pale in significance to the next extreme thing. And this conflict over Ukraine is driven by its strategic access to the Black Sea and vast fertile land, ensuring that neither side will back down and prolong the global impact on food supplies and international involvement. You need to really get ready for round 2 or 3 of whatever round we're on right now, but don't expect this to end anytime soon. This resource war highlights the fight for scarce resources like arable land, trade routes, fertile soil, and water rights, really foreshadowing more severe global scarcities in the future. So will North Korea entering the war change the dynamics to favor Russia? Let me know your thoughts by leaving your comment below. H5N1. One of the outcomes of warmer weather and extreme periods of drought, punctuated by massive amounts of precipitation, is the increase in zoonotic diseases. Viruses and bacteria, they thrive in these extreme, and animals are forced out of traditional migratory cycles and paths. And that's one reason we're seeing such an explosion of H5N1 over the last several years. But we've also witnessed it creeping closer and closer to our food supply. What was once confined to mainly wildfowl moved to mammals, forced farmers to cull millions of agricultural birds, and is now still in the early stages of impacting the cattle and dairy industries. Now, if you're following this closely, it's moving slowly over several years, but advancing by leaps with each progression. If we project out the future possibilities, it's really just a matter of time before we see a larger outbreak amongst cattle herds. If dairy operations experience mass die-offs or need to cull herds to get ahead of it, we're going to experience an overnight spike in food prices and dwindling supply. You really should continue to monitor the spread using maps like the one that I'm going to link to in the comments and description section below. Pay a special attention to human infections, especially in your area. But you'll also want to monitor the cattle and flock indicators to really understand the growing impact on your food supply. And look, this is lethal to birds, severe in cattle, and so far only mildly symptomatically expressed in humans who are in close quarters with these animals. And I still don't believe, and we've stated this several times on the channel, that this is going to rise to the level that COVID did, but protecting your health should be your highest priority at this time. Your health is always your number one prep. And recent studies seem to indicate that the antibody reaction in humans in response to the current strain of H5N1 is low, but it's not non-existent. Even a little response to infection is a good thing. It can mean the difference between a rise in flu cases versus a full-blown pandemic. And probably the most alarming news on H5N1 that I'm seeing is a recent report of 66 mice in New Mexico. There's a reason mice are used in laboratory tests. It's because of the similarities in biology and physiology with larger mammals like humans. Infections in mice from either birds or cattle, they show a transmission of the virus that could lead to further explosions amongst birds of prey and even house cats. It's just one step closer to reaching humans with a wider exposure. So, just like the previous map I pointed you to, here's one where you can track detections of avian flu in mammals. Again, I'll drop a link to that in the description and comment section below. Avian influenza viruses are categorized as either low pathogenic or highly pathogenic depending on their genetic characteristics and the extent of disease severity they include in poultry. Now, the majority of these viruses are classified as low pathogenic, resulting in either no noticeable symptoms or only mild clinical signs of infection in poultry. The overall pathogenicity for other animals, including humans, it remains low, but we'll be watching this closely for any large-scale outbreak in any animal groups or any significant increase in pathogenicity. And for now, you should continue to monitor it. You should also give strong consideration to refraining from drinking unpasteurized milk until the threat has passed, and watch your animals closely for possible infection. So what do you think? Is H5N1 a threat that we should be concerned with, or do you know anyone who has been exposed to it recently? Let us know in the comments below. Giveaway. For this week, we're going to give away a ReadyWise emergency food supply kit. All you have to do to participate in the giveaway is just simply comment on this video, give it a thumbs up, and then complete the giveaway form linked in the description section below. This information is only accessible to the City Prepping team. What we'll do is we'll use a random selection tool. We'll choose a winner from the comments and reach out via the email you provide on the submitted form. So congrats to our last giveaway winner for the 2-pack fire blanket for home safety, Bonnie Geddes. We'll get that sent to you shortly. Weather and food. It seems every day there's a new news story about a broken heat, precipitation, or drought record. And there are so many stories about extreme weather that it can sometimes be difficult to assess the real impact it could have on us. And if you're not directly feeling the heat, it can be difficult to understand the repercussions. There's an event occurring right now in India that we're all going to feel, even though we're thousands of miles away from it. The breadbasket of India has been sweltering for nearly 40 days at temperatures around 118 degrees. And the crops grown in this area, which are wheat, rice, sugarcane, fruits, and vegetables, and supporting the over 1 billion people in this country, they can't survive such a prolonged heat wave. And massive crop failures are imminent. India has already curbed or halted the export of many rice varieties and grains to the rest of the world, and they're likely going to halt most of their exports in the future of their harvests as well. At the same time, they'll seek to fill the shortages by buying up and importing all they can. Now, the result will be a drop in global supply and a spike in prices that everyone will feel beginning by the end of the summer. And this is just another example, too, of what will become more apparent as heat domes and extreme weather becomes a part of our daily lives. We're going to see these worldwide agricultural failings increasing in frequency and magnitude. And there's a direct human toll as well. This is a year we're witnessing an uptick in the direct toll on human life. Deadly heat waves are scorching cities across 4 continents as the northern hemisphere begins summer, potentially setting new records as the warmest in 2,000 years. Now, recent record temperatures have led to hundreds, if not thousands, of deaths in Asia and Europe, with especially severe impacts seen during the Hajj pilgrim in Saudi Arabia, where temperatures have exceeded 51 degrees Celsius or 124 degrees Fahrenheit, and almost 1,000 people have died as a result. Now, the Mediterranean region has also faced blistering heat that has contributed to the widespread forest fires, while in the United States, a heat dome has caused extreme temperatures and wildfires, affecting millions and prompting emergency measures. As the grid continues to fail and our ability to control our indoor climate fails, we're going to see a significant rise in human heat-induced illnesses and deaths. Where humans are impacted, animals are doubly affected. Livestock, cats, dogs, and wildlife, they all suffer, and they can die when a heat dome's high temperature endures for such a long time. Now, ranchers and farmers, they intentionally scale back herd sizes, anticipating the difficulties of keeping herds cool and hydrated. Wildfires can decimate a nation's supply of feed, and we're already seeing large heat-provoked wildfires like the one in South Fork, New Mexico. They are simultaneously suffering through an out-of-control wildfire, flash flooding from a severe thunderstorm, and baseball-sized hail. And what we're seeing in New Mexico may become an all too frequently occurring event throughout our country and the world. Extreme weather-related disasters, including severe storms and heat waves intensifying nationwide, are exacerbating housing, insurance, and essential commodities costs, highlighting the intertwined nature of weather impacts on everyday economic stability. The frightening part of this is that we're already seeing some dramatic headline-grabbing events right now. And summer in the Northern Hemisphere officially began just a few days ago on June 20th. We still have a whole season of this ahead of us. And officially, the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season began on June 1st and will end on November 30th. So far, one tropical cyclone, Alberto, has formed, and parts of Texas and Mexico have been overwhelmed with rain and flooding. And this hurricane season is going to be pretty bad. This summer is going to be very hot, and it's going to impact our lives directly, our infrastructure, and even our food supply. So here's the thing. You can plug in solutions now to lessen the impact of these current and future events. You can expect that your infrastructure may succumb to the prolonged heat, and know how to keep yourself cool when the power goes out. I'll link to a video specific to that in the comments and description section below. But you need to take this a step further and understand the big picture implications of these weather events. If you don't have a 3-week supply of food and water set aside for these disasters, you absolutely have to get that in place. I'll also link to videos on both of those. And look, people can't rely on municipal systems or governments to get them through what we're already seeing on the horizon. And this is what I'll finish by saying. The time to prepare is now. Like I always say, you're never a victim. And I just want to really emphasize this before I close this up. I know it's easy to listen to all the bad news. And again, we do these videos to give you information to help you determine how you're going to prepare. But know this, you're not a victim. We've created so many videos on this channel to provide practical solutions, and we'll continue to do so. So that being said, here's what I'm doing. And here's what I shared at the beginning of the video that I'm really, really excited about. If you follow me for any length of time, back years ago when I started the channel, I lived in suburbia. 2018, I moved on to 5 acres. Long story short, we got into that setup, and there was a lot of restrictions we ran into, and I couldn't do anything. We have so many just issues with that community. There was projects I tried to do, I couldn't. So we sold that place in 2020, moved here into suburbia, and I've been frustrated ever since because, again, not a lot of space. So one of the things I've been working on for years is looking for a good piece of land to develop and to take the channel in a direction where I can document that process. So I'm now officially in escrow. I started it a few days ago. Today is the 20th, or 21st, filming on Friday. I started escrow on the 19th. I hope to be closing on the 19th of July. And it has really, and I hope everything goes well. We'll have our inspection on Monday, so you never know until you get the inspection, right? But as long as everything goes well, this property we're looking at does have a house already on it. It's pretty close to me. It's a good amount of space on it. It has some very unique features that I've yet to find on any of the properties I've looked at. And it pretty much is crazy. Everything that I was looking for on the land, it has. And I'll be honest, I'm beyond elated. I still pinch myself some days thinking, okay, is this really going through? Just hope nothing goes wrong during the appraisal and other aspects of escrow. But what that's going to do is allow us to really pivot the channel in a new direction. I've always wanted to get more into how-to practical videos. And so I'm already looking at this land, lining up the projects. The kind of recurring joke in our home is I keep telling my wife, well, the first thing I'm going to do, and then I change my mind the next day. I was like, well, this will be the first thing. And she's like, what's the first thing now? And so I'll be working on that over the next several weeks, getting escrow squared away. And once we finally close the deal, I'll let you know here on the channel. But that being said, I think it's important, that, again, as I mentioned several times in videos recently, the 2030 initiative that I'm trying to roll out on this channel over the next 6 years, teach and train 10,000 people through our online community portal, through practical information. This community, or this piece of land, is going to be my training ground, to use that as an opportunity and a place to take you through all the systems that we're going to build out between rain harvesting, solar, off-grid, power, batteries, gardening, obviously, raising animals, you name it, we're going for it. And that's why at the beginning of the video, I mentioned we have several sponsors that we picked up, because as these projects, well, to be blunt, they take funding. And so that, in building up the team, I've got several other different skill sets that I've got to bring on with this expansion. It's all going to cost money. But my goal is to utilize what we're, again, picking up with the sponsors, to ship that into the training that we're going to be using on this piece of property. So again, I'm kind of pulling you behind the scenes, kind of pulling the veil back, so to speak, and showing you the business aspect of this. And so, yeah, as you can tell, I'm pretty excited. I've been waiting for this for weeks. And so fingers crossed everything goes through. So I'll keep you posted on that. But again, I appreciate all those that have been with me on this channel for years. I feel like this is going to move into a totally new phase of the channel. This office that I've been in, I'm ready to get out and begin to get out in front of the camera and start expanding out and growing. So again, I'll be taking you on that journey with me. So yeah. If you have any thoughts, any feedback on anything discussed in the video, feel free to post it below. And as always, stay safe out there.